Today we're going to talk about turning this into this.
What are you going to show us today?
I'm going to show you how to make a homemade incubator.
Okay, and why did you make your own incubator?
Well, over the years we have borrowed incubators from the local 4-H extension office and found that there seemed to be some design flaws in them, such as maybe the body of the incubator was mostly styrofoam, and so the viewing window was small, and so it wasn't as fun to watch the eggs or to candle the eggs or adjust anything. You had to take the whole top off, which let a lot of humidity and heat out. And then also just the cost. We were looking at purchasing our own, and they're fairly expensive. So we decided to see if we could come up with some things from around the house and try making our own.
What items are you choosing to use?
Okay, so we have a fish tank and stand that we were no longer using as a fish tank. Years ago, we had a pet bearded dragon, so we had the ceramic heat bulbs left over from that. We had a little portable fan that we use for our dog when we go to dog shows. Just a variety of different things that would help us with humidity and heat. We have the wood pellets already for our rabbits and chickens. And then for starting seeds in the spring for the garden, we have this soil temperature gauge that can turn the heat source on and off. We also had some pieces of styrofoam insulation and this bubble wrap type of insulation laying around the house. So we just kind of gathered up some supplies and decided to see what we could come up with. Okay, so our heat source for our incubator is a ceramic heat bulb. We have 2 different sizes here, so we'll keep an eye on the tank and see if the bulb that we're using is providing enough heat. If it's not, then we'll swap it out and put a larger bulb in. We have this mist sprayer that we already had on hand for my daughter's hair when she's getting ready, and so when we see that the tank is a little bit low on humidity, we can add a little humidity with a quick mist spray in there. And this is something that we did not have on hand. We had to order. This is going to tell us the temperature and the humidity. We had only one, and we were concerned about making sure that the temperature and humidity was even throughout the tank. So I ordered a set of 3 of these to add around the tank and give us a reading throughout. So one of the things that was an issue with the commercial incubators that we looked at was the way that you had to open them to get eggs to candle them or anything. And so what we decided to do is we have 2 layers of this styrofoam board on top. One is solid and the other one has holes cut in the top. And then we also notched the edges so that it doesn't slide around and it kind of sits down in there. That way, if I want to access eggs, I can just slide it one way or the other and not take the whole top off of the tank. So that should help us maintain our humidity and temperature a little bit better. Okay. So on this side of the tank, we have the fan, and the fan has an adjustable speed. It has a battery inside. So if our power were to go out, the battery would keep the fan running for a while. We can tilt it and we can rotate it. But right now my thought is we're going to have it aimed at the heat bulb to blow the heat and help circulate that around the tank. We also have dishes of water in here, and that's going to help create the humidity that's needed for incubating the eggs. And we've put one dish directly under the heat bulb to help it evaporate, and then some others around the tank to add to the humidity. We have this temperature control down here that is used to control a heat mat for under soil and starting seeds in a greenhouse. So we're using that to turn our ceramic heat bulb on and off. So we have the temperature set so that it's at 100 degrees. And then there's a sensor in here that goes back to that. So we want the sensor to be down at the level that the eggs will be and somewhat centrally located. We don't want that under the heat bulb or against the glass over here because we won't get an accurate reading. So we're going to put that near the center in the middle of where we're going to have our eggs. And then when the heat inside the tank reaches 100 degrees, this controller will turn off the heat bulb so that it doesn't get too hot. Right now the temperature is too low because we are just getting it set up and we keep opening and closing it. So before we would set any eggs in there, we'll wait a while and let this temperature and humidity even out and make sure that it's going to be correct for eggs to be incubated. So what we need to do now is we need to monitor our 4 temperature and humidity gauges that we have in here and watch for it to be fairly even and consistent throughout the tank and to reach our goal humidity and temperature settings so that it's optimal for hatching bantam eggs. Now, bantam eggs need about 99.5 degrees to hatch. So the way that our control works, we're going to have that set to 101 because when it reaches 101, it'll kick off and then it'll gradually cool down until it kicks back on. So we want that temperature range to stay right around 100. And then the other thing we're watching is that humidity. We need to keep it at 45 to 50% humidity until it gets closer to the hatch date. Bantams can take around 19 to 21 days to hatch. So when we get closer to that 19-day mark, then we have to up that humidity because it really helps those little chicks hatch when the lining of their egg is nice and moist. So first we're going to wait for all of the temperature and humidity to get correct before we go on to the next step.
So what is the next step? What comes next?
Okay, once we see that we are getting the humidity and the temperature correct, we're going to wrap our bubble wrap around the glass to help insulate it. Last year, one of the issues that we had was the tape letting loose from the glass. So this year, we thought we might try hot and gluing it to the glass to keep it in place. So we will be adding that, and then we're going to candle the eggs that we've been saving over the last week to see if we think they're good, healthy, viable eggs to put into the incubator, and then we'll set the eggs. So watch for a follow-up update video on how many eggs we ended up setting.